Honorable Chair, my financial net worth is 300 million.
How is it made up?
I have a breakdown. 240 million is prime land that is in Mombasa, Kajiado, Kitui, and Nairobi. I have shares in 4 circles with a total of 30 million. I have motor vehicles, 3 to be precise, 10 million. The other 20 million is from my farm produce and livestock that I keep. Thank you.
We'll now engage you in a manner that I advised, and I'll ask the Deputy Speaker to be the first to go. Oh, yes, sorry. Gun. 10 minutes, the journey of your life.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. First, I want to thank this Honorable Vetting Committee for this opportunity that you've given me to express myself in this vetting exercise. I know it is a very noble exercise in this country as a law-abiding citizen, and I want to say thank you. Again, I want to extend my gratitude to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, for nominating me for Cabinet Secretary, Tourism, Wildlife, and Heritage. Honorable Chairman, my name is Peninah Malonza. Apparently, I only use 2 names because my parents never gave me a company name. I was born 48 years in the eastern part of this country, Kitui County to be precise. I grew up in a village called Itumba in Mutomo, just next to Kitui South Game Reserve. I attended my early education at Itumba Primary School from 1980 to 1987. I then proceeded to Ikuda Girls, which again is next to Safo East Game Park. And I completed my whole-level education in 1991, where I was lucky to be enrolled at the University of Nairobi to take my bachelor's in BA Anthropology. I completed my degree in 1994, from where I took break like any other citizen in this country and began my early career. I was engaged by AMREF Kenya as a coordinator in their Kibera health program, health-based program, where I was in charge of coordinating women empowerment activity and rehabilitating commercial sex workers. I proceeded to Changamwe Baptist Church that is in Mombasa, where I was engaged as a project director. It was at this time when I was at Changamwe Baptist Church, I felt that I needed to go back to school. And in 2006, I enrolled myself in the Kenya Association of Professional Counselors, where I took a diploma in psychological counseling. In the same year, I applied to take a master's course at the University of Nairobi. And I was enrolled for a master's program in project planning and management, a course that I took from 2006 to to 2008. Upon completion, my desire for education was still burning. And I went back again. Lucky enough, I had applied for 2 masters, and I got both admission. And therefore, I postponed one, and upon completion of my first master's, went back again in 2009 to do my second master's in public health at the University of Nairobi. Besides the straightforward education, I've also taken short courses in various universities within the country and outside this country. And to be particular, I'd want to mention 2 that are essential for this vetting. I've taken a course in recovery models of African countries at Chungwani University, Samoa Academy, Korea. I also took a course in health research at Addis Continental Institute of Public Health in Ethiopia. And finally, I would want to quote that I took a short course on leadership with International Leadership Foundation in conjunction with International Leadership University. Besides those 3, I took others, and they are in my file, which I presented, but it is good to mention that I've also taken finance for non-finance, management for non-governmental NGOs, proposal writing and resource mobilization at Daystar University, and peer counseling at Moi University. That marks my journey in education. In my career, as I said, I started with AMREF Kenya, transitioned to Changamwe Baptist Church, and later, while at Changamwe Baptist Church, the same year I completed my psychological higher diploma. The same year I was enrolled for a master's at Nairobi University. I also was employed by Compassion International Kenya as a program facilitator. As a program facilitator, I was in charge of 2 regions in this country. I was in charge of Meru, and I was also in charge of Kaloleni, Kilifi County. I rose from being a facilitator to a senior facilitator in the following year, where I was also in charge of 2 more other regions, including Kajiado, Nairobi, Meru, and Mombasa. But also, I was given the task to mentor 2 program facilitators. I was lucky, however. For the 5 years I worked with Compassion International, for me, every year was a promotion. So in my 3rd year, actually after 8 months, I became the program supervisor, where I was in charge of programming activities of Compassion International in the country, mainly child sponsorship and programming with our partners who are churches across the nation. Later on, I was promoted to a senior supervisor within the same organization, where I began sitting in the country's management team as an extended officer, but still managing now a team of 6 program facilitators in terms of supervision. And lastly, I rose to a partner training and support manager in 2012. In this position, I was at the top management of the country, where I would sit in the country management team to program the child activities in this nation. I would say that this is where I was able to grow my leadership skills at a higher level because I was in charge of the largest department at Compassion. I was in charge of curriculum development. I was in charge of training. I was in charge of early childhood program. I was also in charge of child protection, and I was also in charge of the health matters in the country, and also I was in charge of HIV programming activities in the country. Honorable Chair, I want to say that I am a mother, a widow, a mother of one, and a widow, and I am the firstborn in a family of 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Peninah. We'll now open up to the committee to engage you, starting with the Deputy Speaker.
Good afternoon, Ms. Peninah Malonza. First, I want to start by congratulating you for being for being nominated as Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. Congratulations. My question is this. We know that less attractive tourist destinations have, like Spain, have 50 million visitors a year. Kenya is yet to hit the 10 million mark. It has not done so in 15 years. And yet, at the same time, we know that we have challenges with our wildlife, which is our biggest tourist attraction, is also not doing well. The wildlife is dying. There's human-wildlife conflict. And then there's also some threats to our wildlife, which is our biggest attraction. What do you intend to do as Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife and Heritage to attract visitors into Kenya and bring us the much-needed foreign revenue? Thank you.
Kimani Ichung'wah, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Chair. Peninah, my name is Kimani Ichung'wah, as has been mentioned. Sorry, I came late for the introduction. Member of Parliament for Kikuyu. Let me begin with a question from the form that you have filled, the one that you have filled by hand, and I believe it too has filled it since it's done by hand. On deferred income, item number 21, you are selling land for 50 million shillings in the year 2026. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
Then item number 23, sources of income, where you are told to list sources and amounts of all income received during the calendar year preceding your nomination and in the current calendar year. You are saying you have donations from friends and family of 10 million shillings. Is that correct?
Yes.
You must have very rich friends.
Thank you.
Now, my question on the land sale, how did you determine that you will sell land in 4 years to come for 50 million shillings? And maybe you would need to look at the form, if you have it, whether it could be a mistake or it's actually what you intended to fill in. That's on the form. Maybe you may have to look at it, because I would really want to know how you are able to determine the value of land in the future. I have not seen any valuer who is able to determine value of land in the future. Two, on policy matters now, away from this, we have for long relied on our beautiful beaches, as we have said, our wildlife, and marketing this, but not in a very good way to foreigners. But domestic tourism has not been promoted domestically, or rather in the country and also in the region. And with the opening up, I've seen the president trying to persuade all our neighbors to open up our borders. what efforts would you apply if you are approved as Minister for Tourism to encourage those of our neighbors who are in landlocked countries to utilize those beautiful beaches, or are we only going to focus on Wazungus from the West? Two, also in terms of marketing, what measures do you intend to take? I see small economies like Rwanda advertise on CNN, on Al Jazeera. I've hardly ever seen an advert for any of our tourism destinations on those platforms, and even online, maybe on online platforms around the world. What measures would you apply to market our country as a tourist destination? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker and Chair. Ms. Malonza, you are the Deputy Governor for the county of Kitui between the year 2013 and 2017, in which case you are state officer, because governors and the deputies are state officers, okay? If you go to the Constitution at Article 73, Sabbatical 1, for avoidance of doubt, I'll just read quickly, that authority assigned to a state officer is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that, among others, demonstrates respect for the people, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office. Ms. Malonza, it is in public domain that you had a nasty fallout with your governor, then Julius Malombe. And about 5 months or so before the elections of 2017, you indeed defected, as it were, and teamed up with Senator David Musela as his running mate in the subsequent election, while still serving as deputy governor under Governor Malombe. There was an incident at a public rally sometime in 2017 at Kisayani Market in Kitui South constituency, where you threatened to walk naked in the streets of Kitui in protest against Governor Malombe for instigating your woes in the county. In fact, the governor is reported, Governor Malombe that is, that you had forsaken your official duties. I'm quoting him verbatim. That she has forsaken her official duties and now spends much of her time dining with my political opponents and detractors as they plot my downfall ahead of the 2017 elections. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with falling out with your governor or even defecting. That's within your right. But the fact that you could formally be declared a running mate of an opponent of the governor you are serving while still serving in the office speaks volumes about your loyalty and consistency and principles. And again, the fact that you could threaten to walk naked in the streets as a deputy governor really raises serious issues of morality and ethics. What do you have to say about this? Thank you.
Yes, Robert Mbui. Peninah will take 4 questions, then you will answer them in the order they came. So that's the last one on this batch. The Honorable Robert Mbui.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, Mr. Speaker, sir. As is part of our duty, when you're doing public appointments, the Parliamentary Approval Act, we have this schedule that the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah did go through. And one of the requirements is that we are supposed to determine the net worth of individuals before they assume office. Maybe one of the reasons could be that in another 5 years we compare and see whether they have made any benefits out of maybe wrongly from the office, and probably also to give confidence to those many mamambogas and bodabodas that they are getting wealthy people that can take care of their interests when they go to office. Now, in this particular form that the nominee has filled, the area that Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah noted, I want to add that there seems to be also a deputy governor house allowance at number 21, deferred income future benefits. Deputy governor house allowance by county government of 4.8 million in 2022 when she was not in office. I would like to understand that. And then, because this office, Mr. Speaker, is an office that will be dealing with international tourists, and therefore, of course, communication has to be very clear. If you look at the part where she has indicated the statement of net worth, which is number 25, she has actually verbally here said it is 300 million, but has written 300 trillion. Maybe she can confirm that. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Speaker, kindly look at number 25, statement of net worth. It is 300 million. That is 300 trillion, Mr. Speaker. That is the communication I'm talking about.
You can now answer the questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and the honorable members who have raised questions to me to respond. I'll start with the first question from the Deputy Speaker, where she said that looking at the numbers flowing in the country, Kenya is yet to attain 10 million visitors in a year. She asked me to say what I intend to do to attract visitors in this country. One of the things that I will do is to promote domestic tourism in this country. This is a low-lying fruit that we can harness as a country, and especially at this time.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Yes. According to Schedule 4 of the Constitution, domestic tourism is a preserve of county governments. It's supposed to be done by governors and CECs in charge of tourism. The same Schedule 4 is very clear. International tourism is a preserve of the national government and the minister in charge of tourism. So when the minister nominee is telling us he will dwell on domestic tourism, then she needs to check the Constitution what her role is.
Thank you very much. I am aware of the fourth schedule that gives the distribution of functions between the national government and the county government. Whereas the national government has a role in developing policies and standards, training and building capacity, conducting research. When you look at the functions of the county government, you will realize that the county governments have the role of promoting culture and taking care of the county parks. And for my understanding, when I checked with the Constitution of Kenya, the fourth schedule, that was my finding. However, I'll be responding to this question and say, promoting domestic tourism it's in the context of the function of the national government, where the national government is mandated to sell Kenya to international, regional, and domestic. And therefore, categorically, I believe I will be promoting in terms of marketing. I'll also, through marketing, seek to raise the numbers. How I will seek to raise the numbers in the country is by looking at our traditional markets that we have, and specifically picking on 5I value, and contacting through our vehicle that we call Magical Kenya, promotion, trade fairs, and end-to-end marketing with them. I'll also want not only to look at the issue of the numbers, because we can have numbers, but it's not bringing value to this nation. And therefore, I'll be relooking at our revenue collection modalities. Specifically, I'm pursued to say that one of my key strengths is automation. And I will want to pursue automating our systems so that we can even have e-ticketing for tourists, but also e-revenue collection. I'll also be looking at the very core function of the national government in capacity building and invoking Article 189 on collaboration between the two levels of government. I would develop, especially in the area of culture, legislation and policies that will direct upon contextualization, would direct our counties. At Article 189, probably to come back to Honorable Opio's question, the two levels of governments can consult, can work together in terms of implementing legislations. I'll respond to question 2. How did I determine to sell land at 50 million? As you realize with my breakdown on the net worth, I have in all my time invested in land. All my salaries, mostly I invested in land. And therefore, I have a bit of chunks of land. This is not 1 acre and not 2 acres. However, I must agree that this is a personal valuation that I projected after being in the business for some time. On domestic tourism has not been promoted from still Honorable Kimani. What efforts will I apply? I believe I've already stated that I will intend to sell Kenya through marketing to both in the country and also extending to East Africa community. And I'm very happy to report that I was very brightened last time His Excellency the President visited Tanzania, and he talked about removing restrictions. And I think that is a good step in terms of opening up. But to say, in terms of our country, I have taken keen interest in looking at the numbers of the consumers of our parks, of our beaches, and of what we call the niche products that we've already developed. And I've realized that very few people in this country hardly find time to retreat in a national park. And therefore, we will be running digital marketing. And this is because if you look at the world around, the generation that we have, we call it millennial. They are digital. They are using digital platforms. And I believe for us, even to attract tourists who are from this country to visit our national parks, I believe that we need to go online. And you're right on that, a spot on that. Because last time I checked field travel, I realized that Kenya was missing. Tanzania was there, Seychelles was there, Mauritius was there, but Kenya was missing. And therefore, I will be pursuing this type of marketing to attract. I'm also looking at, for example, lowering the entry fee or coming up with differential pricing between our international and domestic. Because tourism has almost same ratings where the price you pay sometimes for a night in an hotel will almost be the same price that any other visitor from outside this country will be paying. And in particular, I'm focusing on KICC, the very iconic building that we have in this nation that has not given us much. Yet we can lower the 200 fee for our Kenyans just to go up the tower. And that way we attract a larger number of tourists from our country, even experiencing this great experience of being on the top of our longest building, although I know today is not the highest building. Marketing was still from Honorable Ichung'wah. Through the chair, I have already pointed out that I will be using digital platforms to pursue marketing. The good thing with digital platforms, they have a wider reach and they are cost effective. Marketing is very expensive, and probably that's why we've been living in this country, because of the slim budgets we have for marketing and exercising the known ways of marketing. And therefore, one of the areas that are working with the team in the ministry I'll be looking at is using international and regional and local platforms, media platforms, including our local radios.
Yes,
Chair, on a point of order, because I think the issue of marketing she had answered, maybe just in the interest of saving time. The question Peninah had asked on the 10 million shillings and your very rich friends. I'm sorry, Chair, because I left out the question. I just quipped that you may have very rich friends. I know you are a political aspirant this year, during this year's elections. Maybe you could clarify this. Could this have been donations towards your campaign? And my specific question on that issue of donations of 10 million shillings, do you intend now as a public officer, if you are approved, to continue receiving these kind of donations from your very rich friends?
Thank you very much. It's true that you're right. The 10 donation was donated to my friends and family during the campaigns, and that's why I wrote it there. So it's not that I have rich, but I will not deny also I have rich friends.
With 300 million, Peninah, you are certainly not poor either.
Thank you. Indeed, I am.
The moral question you are being asked is whether you will...
I will not receive, I will not continue receiving, because I'm very aware that I will be a state officer, and the law is very clear. I believe it's Article 77 that I cannot receive donations. And again, I will not be fighting for this period. Because
you can actually receive donations, but if it's more than 20,000, you declare.
I declare.
That's what the law says. And surrender to the state.
Yes, I was coming there. Sorry, I was coming there. That any donation, any gift to a state officer is a donation to the state.
Peninah, I want you to focus on the questions a little more.
The last question.
Peninah, if we listen to each other, it's better. When the chair is talking, you do the listening.
Sorry.
When you talk, I do the listening.
Sorry.
I would want you to focus on the questions that have been asked to you. You've spent the last almost 20 minutes dancing around 2 questions. We have the other questions, and all these colleagues are waiting to ask you questions. And so I would encourage you to answer. You remember I said concise and precise.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that correction. The 5th question was from Honorable Wandai, stating that as I served as a deputy governor, I had a fallout with my governor, and I would want to state that a difference in point of opinion is not a fallout. I remember very well the Kisayani instance. Actually, I don't think the words were walking naked. Remember, I was serving a political office, and the interpretation, which I already know I have a task, interpretation of my words, I think they were misunderstood. And I want to state to this vetting team that personally I enjoyed a very cordial relationship with my governor. And I want to state among the deputy governors we had in the country at time, remember deputy governors' position and roles are not well stipulated apart from deputizing. But I must say that my governor was gracious enough to assign me 5 functions, which I did very well, and one of them was performance contracting, and at time our county performed. The issue on having been a running mate to Honorable Musira 5 months before, I was not a running mate. I don't see, I can't remember any time I even campaigned with him before the 5 months. What I want to state to this vetting team is that Deputy Governor's Office is political, as well as Governor's Office is political. And interpretation by other people outside could mean otherwise. The only contentious issue that arose during my tenure was the issue of regional balance. And that one I can attest to this vetting team, that indeed there was a discussion that I and the governor came from the region of Kitui, and the people of Mwingi felt marginalized. And that was the reason that my governor could not continue with me, because he jeopardized his position and his second term. And so in my young career, when I was starting, and I realized that he had chose to take a running mate from Mwingi, Honorable David Musila came for me by the fact of my performance, and at that time the law was very clear. I was not bound by law. Thank you very much.
Robert Mbui's questions?
Question number 6 from Honorable Robert Mbui. It's true that I've written that there's a deputy governor's house allowance. This is a debt that I'm owing the county government of Kitui. There was a high court ruling that declared has to be paid this amount. Quite a number of former deputy governors have been paid, but I've been pursuing it with the county government of Kitui, and it is clear that they will be paying. Thank you.
So they owe you, you don't
I
owe
owe
them.
them.
Okay. Owen Bayer?
I owe them, sorry.
Yes.
They
Russell,
owe me, sorry.
Naisula, and George. We'll take the next 4. And Honorable Peninah, try your best. Pick the question and give the answer.
Thank you.
Too many stories are unhelpful.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Speaker, Chair. Peninah, nice to meet you here. And I come from a very rich tourism area, and I have a lot of interest. And I'll pose to you a few. One, poor policy execution has been the problem of tourism in this country. And a lot of tourism players have noted that there are 8 strategies in the Ministry of Tourism, 8, polishing the jewel, National Tourism Strategy 2013, Tourism in 2030, Tourism Sector Plan 2013, 8 of them. But the tourism in this country has never gotten off its foot. One of the weakest links in the tourism is marketing and branding. This country misses out on a lot of trade fairs. It misses out on a lot of marketing opportunities abroad. And the minister, the previous minister, focused more on domestic tourism, which is not his function, according to Schedule 4, subsection 7. It's very clear that domestic tourism is an issue of county government. But the minister made us believe that he's marketing tourism by looking at local tourism instead of the job that he was given to do. What has happened is this country has suffered low numbers. That's why Kenya tries to move to the 10 million mark. It never gets there because the strategies are wrong. They've been very wrong. Listening to you, I don't see you departing from the thoughts of the previous minister. How will we trust you, those of us who come tourism-rich area, that you will actually get tourism to the 10 million number? And also, I would like you to address yourself to the issue of the open sky. The Minister for Tourism and Minister for Transport deliberately refused airlines from other airlines flying direct from Europe to Kenya. Deliberately, because they were protecting something called KQ and killing tourism. And if you go to Malindi today, 80% of the hotels in Malindi are all dead and decaying. And that is a story for the whole of Coast. And You know, there used to be something called the safari which would start at the coast and end up in Amboseli and end up in Nairobi and many other places. So everybody got some shilling out of the value chain of tourism. But the value chain was killed. How are you going to help this country to get to the 10 million mark and ensure that we go back to tourism being the highest foreign exchange earner for this country and create the million of jobs that we require in this country? I don't think that is a mouthful. I thank you, Mr.
Russell.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I'm here. Peninah, the Act 2015, which provides for compensation in the case of animals killing the citizen or injuring them or destroying their properties. There were hefty fines that were placed during the enactment of that particular act. Is it still feasible, considering the amount of money that has placed on individual compensation? Finally, is about a conservancy. Currently, there are NGOs, individuals, and groups who are coming up with conservancies, particularly in the region of Upper Eastern, the NRT, Northern Rangeland Trust. Which law does it operate under, and does it fall under your ministry? Thank you, Chairman.
Naisula.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'm not too sure if I'll be paraphrasing Honorable Russell's question, but to the nominee, 70% of the wild animals actually live outside protected areas, meaning they are living with the communities, and there are communities that are protecting this wildlife, or the wildlife are actually at the mercy of the communities. But when it comes to human-wildlife conflict, the government takes ages to compensate the victims who are either injured or those who die or those that their property is damaged. Actually, in Parliament, in the Budget Committee, every other time we want to allocate money for that, members are really up in arms, because when you ask whether people have been compensated or in good time, that does not happen. So this has been a question up to a point where we were saying that vote should actually just, we should just get rid of it.
George Morugar.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. And nominee, are national parks and game reserves becoming obsolete? The reason I ask this is due to the fact that even the little tourism that we are able to attract, the beaches seem to be doing better than those pieces of land with now very few animals to see. If they're becoming obsolete, would you be preparing a policy so that those lands are returned to the ancestral owners? And if you're not going to do that, a time like now we have drought, would you be prepared to do a policy whereby those communities that neighbor those parks are actually able to save their livestock by structured grazing in those national parks and game reserves? The second question is from a constituent just now, and he's from Tharaka. You're familiar with Tharaka, having been a deputy governor of Kitui. Because in Kitui, we have a town called Mboka in Tana River, where traders actually move across the Kora National Park. Those who do not know Kora Game Reserve, it's an extension of Meru National Park. They come to a town known as Kaningo, and then to Seikuro, and they do trade. The question they are asking is this: Are you also prepared to consider a corridor in the Meru National Park whereby the people of Tharaka would actually be able to move to Garissa, trade with the people of Mbalambala, my colleague is here, or the people of Balabala would come from Garissa, trade with the people of Tharaka, with a corridor, structured corridor in the national park as part of the control of wildlife-human conflict?
Yes, Peninah. Can I answer those four?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll start with Honorable Owen's question. That there's been policies in this ministry, and he's mentioned quite a number of them. And he's quoted that I've diverted to domestic, yet the focus should be international tourism. I want to assure Chairman that this ministry will be in safe hands. And the focus on international marketing, as I've said, marketing cuts across. And the digital platforms and our vehicle, Magical Kenya, that is involved in trade fairs and end-to-end marketing. But I also want to say that we'll also be focusing on partnering with international marketing firms to carry out joint promotion campaigns. This way, Kenya being a medium tourist destination will have more benefits from such campaigns and therefore raise the numbers. I'm also in one of the package in Magical Kenya, we have begun getting in touch with top operators and included our champions in the package. And I believe that we can use the top operators with a targeted materials to market us out there. Again, I'll be looking forward to collaborate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that we can use our missions out there. We start a tourism desk and provide targeted materials for international markets. I know it is a concern, and I was watching when His Excellency Alfred Mutua was being interviewed by this vetting group, and I know the open sky issue and using of our missions out there came aboard. I want to say that I'll be also collaborating with my counterpart in Transport Ministry to pursue reinstating the charter planes that we used to have, flying direct to Mombasa. I've grown in Mombasa, and I used to witness all that. And therefore, I want to assure you that that's an area I have an interest as I come aboard, and I will be engaging the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Question number 3, I'll combine it with the last question from Honorable Naisula on compensation. Is it still feasible? Yes, it is. The only challenge that has been there, this particular budget line has been receiving very slim budget, because today we have compensations worthy 5 billion to be paid. The budget that we planned, that we budgeted, was around 2.5 million. And this budget for sure cannot compensate everybody. And therefore, we have to carry this backlog to the following year, and that's why the numbers, the amounts have been increasing. I want to plead, and I will be pleading with the Committee on Tourism, Wildlife, and Heritage to improve on this budget line, but also looking at the sustainability of it. It may not be sustainable. Therefore, I'm looking forward, if this committee will approve me, I'm looking forward to engaging in a long-term strategy where we can look at how do we compensate our people. And one of the things that is coming across my mind is seeking insurances and also invoking the World Conservation Fund to see whether we can benefit from the carbon credits and see whether we can utilize that fund at least to compensate our people besides the normal line that we have from Treasury. No, this is the last question.
Go on, Peninah.
There's the last. There's the last question.
From Ms. Oneva Murugara, the animal corridors.
Yes.
Or trading corridors. Yes. And the conservancies.
I'm on the trading corridors, but I'll also be coming back to conservancies.
Chair, not to interrupt, but because I'm looking at time and almost half of us have not asked, can some of the submission be written and submitted?
Peninah, continue.
Thank you very much.
The whole country is watching you. Who is going to look after our parks? Who is going to bring tourists? Who is going to compensate Kenyans mauled by wild animals?
Thank you.
Yes.
Our national parks are becoming obsolete, no? There was a question on allowing livestock to graze in our national park. I'm aware of the Wildlife Compensation and Management Act that strictly doesn't allow grazing in the parks. However, I know that it allows grazing in the conservancies. And therefore, this is, well, we are tied by the law, especially in grazing in the national parks. I find a contradiction because the forest also allows, the forest law allows for grazing, and therefore we'll be sitting with my counterpart to harmonize and see how best we can harmonize the areas that we can allow. Am I considering a corridor in the structured parks? This is an area that I will need to look at the legislation and see if we can open. However, I know it's an area that it has players also in terms of the physical structure of the roads, and therefore I'll be looking at the documentation of that. Thank you.
The Honorable Mule, the Honorable Emase, the Honorable Ferdinand, the Honorable. There's a point clarification or? Yes, Ross.
Mr. Speaker, I asked a very important question on conservancies that are operating outside the realm of the ministry. Can she tell us if she is aware and what she is likely to do to bring it under the ministry?
Peninah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for reminding me that question. I may not be aware of all the conservancies, but I will be looking into the report. But what I'm aware is that the conservancies need to be licensed, and therefore I'll be looking into the report on the mushrooming conservancies in this country. Thank you.
Point of order.
Yes, Gisharia.
Chair, maybe you can ask the clerk department. This place is so hot, so if they could do something about the hair. But secondly, also you had called only three.
No, I'm giving the next lot is the Honorable Mule, Emase, Daoud, Gikaria, and Ferdinand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Each. I said one question each.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, nominee, for coming. I want to get just one strategy from the nominee on how she'll deal with the following issues. Kenya has no longer become a favorable hub for the African market and the tourism. We know we are sort of losing that to Tanzania. The drought issue and environmental degradation in our parks, poaching menace, illegal wildlife trade, and the recent terror on attacks to the country, COVID, and now Ebola. How, just one strategy you'll use to deal with those issues to make sure that we regain the glory we used to know Kenya as the best destination for tourism. Thank you.
Emase.
Thank you. To the nominee, you've been nominated to a ministry that requires serious reengineering interventions to bring it back to its rightful footing. You've just heard from members, and we've experienced as Kenyans, that international tourism has drastically reduced since COVID, and the country has not also fully embraced domestic tourism. Now, my concern is, whereas tourism, part of the tourism is devolved, domestic tourism, we find that other counties have not realized their potential, despite having unique and competitive attraction sites. So as the nominee, how do you intend to do to bridge that gap? Because we must bridge that gap if the country is going to gain from the tourism sector. Thank you.
Honorable Daud.
Thank you, Speaker Chair. First of all, I just want, Mr. Speaker, to ask the nominee, did she say 2.5 million is the compensation from Parliament, or did she say 250 million? That is
2.5.
2.5.
Yes.
I don't know, because I know the budget line for compensation has been low, but it has never been 2.5. But let me ask my question now, because I think she needs to correct whatever she's got. Human-wildlife conflict has been an age-old thing, and we've got Rhino Arc, which has done fencing in some of the areas in the country, and the game parks, which are being controlled now mostly by the county governments. How, in your opinion, will you handle these three matters about human-wildlife conflict, creating the buffer zone or fencing, and giving a helping hand to county governments in handling those game parks and lodges in the game parks? But I think that you should get your facts a bit better, because 2.5 million is completely out.
Yes, who was the next?
It was me.
Gikaria.
Yeah, thank you. Madam Peninah, there is this aspect of poaching and illegal wildlife trade. And it is really affecting this tourism sector. And one of the issues that has always come up is the declining human resource of the game wardens. And I'm told for the last 7 years, I think they have never done any recruitment. Maybe what will you do to try and improve the number of game wardens? And more so, these game wardens, despite stopping this poaching and illegal trade, they're also in charge of the baboons, which are causing menace to most of the places. And not only the baboons, including snake bites. There has been a lot of issue coming from snake bites and the escalating anti-venom prices. So it's becoming a big issue. So maybe what strategy or what policy issue will you put in place so that you can be able to address that? And lastly, we know that some of these counties, I know of course with the fall of BBI, we anticipated to have gotten an increase of 10 billion shillings in Nakuru if he had gone through. But now since it fell, there is this issue of considering giving Nakuru County some of the national parks, just like you've done in other counties, so that they can be able to boost their income at the local level and be able to address some of the issues that are supposed to be addressed. And we have almost, in Nakuru County, we have over, I think, 17, if I'm not wrong. So maybe just giving out one or two, like Nakuru National Park, to the Nakuru County, so that it can be able to supplement the deficit of what would have come from BBI. Thank you.
Ferdinand.
What's her name? Malonza.
Ferdinand.
Miss Malonza, let me just draw your attention to what is happening. There's a lot of conflict, I think, because of population increase. And you'll find that people are now encroaching into the parks. I know, for example, Mount Elgon is a park there. People have now got into the Mount Elgon. Tsavo National Park, I know for sure. I'm told, I've not seen them, but I'm told there's human encroachment in these parks. So what mechanism are you coming up with to be able to stop this for the benefit of tourism in this country? Specifically, come up with what are you going to do to stop this conflict?
You can now answer those 5 questions. You got all of them?
Yes, I did.
Good.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll start with the first question from Honorable Mule on one strategy that I will employ. One of the strategies that I will employ is rebranding Kenya or repositioning Kenya. How do we reposition Kenya? Reaching out to our traditional markets there, also reaching out to new emerging markets like China and Japan. The other strategy I'll use is developing new niche products. I know traditionally we've sold tourism products of our beaches, and also the wildlife. But currently, we have the new millennia who are really interested in adventure and in sport, and also in cultural activities. And therefore, this is a strategy that I will be looking to bring on if this honorable vetting committee will approve me. There was a question on a correction. It's true, it's not 2.5. And I'll say that it is below 2.5. And that's why I said if this committee approves me, I'll be engaging to see. However, we are also diversifying this area.
Peninah, it's good to be factual.
Yes.
The honorable member was doubtful that the amount of money available for compensation in the cases of injuries to human beings by wildlife is 2.5 million. Now you are saying it is below 2.5 million.
Sorry, I thought I had said billion.
You said million.
Sorry for that.
You meant billion.
Yes, I meant billion.
Okay, it's corrected.
Yeah.
A point of order, Chair. I think we need to remind the nominee that he is speaking to us under oath. And if I remember the words in the oath, she'll respond the truth, bare truth, and the truth will set her free.
Chair, if the nominee does not know, she should say, I do not know, but I will check my records, and probably in future, if she is approved, then she will tell us. But for now, when she tells us 2.5, then she says 2.5 million and billion. Next, she'll say 2.5 trillion. So I'm wondering, if she's not sure about any fact, she should leave it out. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Peninah, you know, in an interview, an exchange like this, even no is an answer. You don't have to hazard guesses. If it's not clear, not everybody knows everything. It is how you will engage when you are in office if we approve you. You can say you'll formulate policy, you'll bring legislation, you'll go and check, you'll try to find out. All those kind of responses are good answers.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for that correction, and Honorable Member for that correction. Allow me to correct that and say I'll check the report and move to the third question on conflict between human and wildlife, and how I will battle this out. It is true that we have increased human-wildlife in the country, and I want to state that one of the reasons why we are having this is because of the climate change, the reduced pasture in the parks, in the national parks, and also water. And if this committee will approve me, I will be looking to constructing water ponds within the national parks, basically to restrict the animals, and also continue the fencing program so that we can restrict the animals to the confines of the park. Again, giving Nakuru County, Nakuru National Park I believe that the law is very clear on the national government, national parks being under national government, and therefore we are at an age and era, and I believe that this August House, if they feel this is an area that we need to relook, then we will the August House will approve, and we will legislate on this area. Encroachment and what plans I have. It is true that there's increased encroachment, and one of the things that I plan to do is to work with the Minister of Lands and see and ask them to cease the subdivision of land within this country. The other issue that I will encourage is conservancy agreement programs. If we can go on conservancy, I believe that we'll have a leeway of our people having their livestock grazing in our conservancies and also preserving the conservancies. There was a question on poaching. There was a question on poaching that we have not recruited. What I want to say is that we have our community scouts that have been doing a very great job. And we will be looking at the possibilities of discussing this with the Augusta House, the 13th Augusta House, because I know their term is coming to an end next month, to see if we can at least give them a contract so that they can help in surveillance and also information gathering. Again, Kenya Wildlife has improved on technology of spatial monitoring, and I believe this is an area that we can try to see if we can equip our national parks with the drone technology to monitor. Again, we have the anti-poaching law. We will continue to enforce it, especially, and also cooperate with our international agencies to ensure that we stop trafficking. We'll also improve on our border patrols so that we can stop, we can reduce the demand in the consumer destinations. Thank you.
Ms. Mbogo, Mishi, then Koech, and Miss.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, masuala ambayo nitauliza ni swala ambayo pia nimetumwa na wananchi wetu wa Kenya, na kama nisingepata nafasi ingekuwa pigo kubwa kwangu. Kwanza niweze kuongezea yale Mheshimiwa Gikari amezungumzia katika ile orodha ya fidia kwa upande wa tetesi wa binadamu na wanyama. Naona katika orodha ile kuumwa na nyoka imetolewa, kuumwa na ama kuathirika na tumbiri imetolewa, na pia nguruwe mwitu. Kwa hivyo jambo hilo naona Mheshimiwa Malonza atatuelezea vile atakavyowezesha, kwa sababu wanyama hawa ndio wako karibu sana na jamii, na kama wametolewa katika orodha ya fidia, basi hilo ni pigo kubwa sana kwa jamii zetu. Na swala langu litakuwa mikakati ambayo utaiweka ili tuweze kupata sera.
Kiswahili?
You know, no, Speaker, Swahili is a national language.
Are you proficient in Kiswahili?
Yes, I can.
Yes, you are. Okay.
Swala langu, Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati wa ukoloni katika sehemu ya Taita Taveta, takriban 62% ya ardhi ilichukuliwa na wakoloni. Na baada ya wakoloni kuondoka, tulipopata uhuru, ardhi hino ilichukuliwa na serikali iliyokuwepo na ikaweza kutengezwa mbuga 2 za wanyama. Moja ikiitwa Tsavo East National Park na nyingine ikiitwa Tsavo West National Park. Mbuga hizi za wanyama zimeweza kutumika katika hali ya utalii na kumekuwa na mapato ambayo yamepatikana. Lakini ajabu ni kwamba jamii iliyoko pale ambao waliweza kutoa mashamba yao na kuyaachilia kwa serikali kwa mradi huu, hakuna mirahaba yoyote wanaopata. Kwa wale ambao hawaelewi Kiswahili, mirahaba ama mrahaba ni royalties. Na pia hawapati mapato yoyote kutokana na ushuru unaoweza kuchukuliwa na taasisi ya Kenya Wildlife Services. Kwa hivyo tunasema mikakati gani ambayo itawekwa ili kutengezwe sera na misoda ya kusimamia rasilimali zilioko katika jamii, ili jamii zile ziweze kufaidika na rasilimali hizo, kwa sababu wakati uno sera yetu ni ugatuzi, na ugatuzi ni kwamba Wakenya walioko katika kaunti zile wataweza kufaidika na zile rasilimali walizonazo. Mwisho kabisa nimuulize pia mikakati alionayo kuweza kuboresha mambo ya utalii katika upande wa utalii wa bahari na utalii wa maziwa, ili tuweze kuborosha ino kiwanda cha utalii, tuweze kuzidisha mapato yetu kama Wakenya na tuweze kuongeza ajira ambayo inaweza kwenda mpaka takriban milioni 1.6. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Madam, Madam Peninah, mine will have been a question, but looking at the time, I just want to give you one point. Tourism is such a key sector in our economy, such an important, crucial sector, particularly after the ravages of the COVID-19. We're trying to resuscitate our economy. Tourism is a key player. Your face is going to be so important if we approve you in this House in that sector. I want to urge you this, that even as we continue with our vetting, it is important that you appraise yourself with matters tourism and wildlife. Some of our animals are in danger. Your face and your office will be the one mandated to undertake the responsibility of taking care of our animals. A question that Honorable Dawood did ask, even to myself, was not satisfactorily answered. You might have done your research, and sometimes you are put in a field that you do not have the knowledge at that particular time. Our presence also is intimidating, but I want to ask you, take a lot of time to appraise yourself to matters tourism and wildlife.
Missy?
That was quite a lecture. I want to... I just want her to reconcile her background from anthropology, study of human, culture, biology, study of Homo sapiens, how we evolved from Homo sapiens, Homo habilis, all those homos. But that is a slow process. Evolution is a slow process. Now you are going into a marketing field. How will you reconcile this?
Peninah?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nianze na swala la Mheshimiwa Mishi, Mheshimiwa mwenyekiti wa hichi kikao. Mheshimiwa ameniuliza ya kwamba mbuga mbili zilizowekwa katika upande wa pwani na wananchi wa pande hile hawajaweza kupata mrahaba wowote. Ningependa kukujibu kupitia kwa chairman ya kwamba ni kweli ninafahamu ya kwamba zile mbuga mbili zimeweza kuchukuliwa na wananchi wakapeana. Na swala la mrahaba ni swala ambalo limekuwa likienea kwingi. Kwa hivyo ningependa kusema hii ni eneo moja ambalo ningependa kuangazia zaidi na kuweza kutoka na legislation, policy, Honorable Chair, I'm supposed to use the two languages. Thank you.
You are more comfortable with.
Thank you very much. This is an area that I would want to look at and see what policies we can generate, at least to see these people benefit. Even if it's employment in the parks and also other ways they can benefit and from the revenues that we generate from these national parks. Pia uliuliza swala la kuboresha utalii. And I would love to answer this in English. The strategy that I will be looking at is our beaches we did in 1980s to 90, they really had high flow of our tourists. And I want to say that what I'll do in this area, I know one of the challenges that has affected us so much in this area is our closed skies, because that limited us also from receiving the charter planes that used to flow directly to Mombasa. This is an area I'll be pursuing with my counterpart in transport, but also the coast has potential, especially for marine, for water sports, and these are new niches that we can actually embrace and catalog as our products and market. And so that is an area I'll be focusing on. Tourism is a very key sector indeed. I think this was a comment.
Mishi also asked you that I know it is not you who did it, but they have delisted baboons, wild pigs, and snakes as animals that attract compensation when they attack human beings. So they are no longer now compensatable when they attack human beings. Yet, if you go to even Kitui, where you come from, there are more snake bites than attacks from any other wild animals. And people are maimed, they die. If you go to Nakuru, where Gikaria comes from, there's an area called Shabab where it's a daily battleground between baboons and human beings, destroying property and so on, crops and so on. Would you consider when you get into office, if you are approved, to reschedule those animals on the schedule where compensation follows such attacks? Is that what you asked?
Precisely, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for that correction. Yes, it did. That's an issue I will relook at, because as you've said, I believe it comprises the largest category of the claims that we used to get. Having been in Kitui, I'm a witness to this, and that's the area I will be relooking at. Tourism as a key sector, I think there was a comment.
Last two were just comments.
Yeah,
Note them and say you'll take that into account, especially what Honorable Koech said.
Yes.
You are the face of our marketing. Tourism earns more money than coffee, than tea, than anything else.
Yes.
Now it is at its lowest. Countries that closed down because of COVID-19 have recovered. Are you going to embark on a vigorous policy to engineer our recovery, to bring back beach tourism, park tourism, conferencing tourism, and everything else? That's what these members want to know from you.
Yes, Honorable Chairman, I will be bringing on board a robust strategy to ensure that our white beaches in coast are in operation. Our new niches in the area of adventure, sports, and even homestays that are coming aboard to exploit the area of immersion in terms of experiences will be exploited. So I want to assure this...
The Order, Speaker. Chair. I didn't want to interfere with the nominee, but I think you as chair was just like a comment, you know,
yes,
like a positive comment, which maybe the nominee would have really appreciated. That is a good comment that she will follow unless, maybe if she's approved, Honorable Chair, I look at that one as a comment rather than a question. She's going to answer a question which it was not asked.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I've noted that and I appreciate.
Thank you, Peninah. Time is up, as you can see. I'll give you 3 minutes to tell us your final wish, why you think you are suitable, and why this committee should recommend you for appointment.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of this vetting committee. I want to appreciate the Chair and the committee members for engaging me in this learning experience. It is my hope that this committee will find it worthy to approve me to this docket, and I want to assure you that I will quickly internalize the policies and the legislation on tourism, wildlife, and heritage. And I want to assure this vetting committee that I will raise the numbers from the currently number that we have below 1 million as we recover to the dream of this country and the capacity of this country. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Peninah. You are now released. You can go back to your other duties. Sergeant, bring us on Mr. Zakaria Mwangi Njeru.